You ever see someone so drunk on power that they forget what real authority looks like? Yeah, well, I live in a neighborhood run by one of those people. Her name's Karen, and she actually tried to tow a sheriff's car out of my driveway. The best part? She didn't even realize who it belonged to until the sheriff himself showed up. So here's how it all went down. I live in one of those suburban dream neighborhoods, Maple Grove. Perfect lawns, identical mailboxes, and people who wave just enough to pretend they like each other. It's the kind of place that looks peaceful from the outside, but feels like a reality show behind the scenes. And at the center of it all sits the HOA, run by none other than Karen Whitmore, our self-appointed queen of the cul-de-sac. When Karen first moved in, things weren't that bad. We used to mind our business, cut our grass, and pay the occasional HOA fee. Then she joined the board, and suddenly every little thing became a violation. If your trash can sat out 5 minutes too long, violation. Mailbox, a little faded, violation. Lawn too tall by half an inch, guess what, another violation. She treated the neighborhood like her personal police precinct. At first I ignored it. I thought, fine, she's new, maybe she's just trying to keep things tidy. But it didn't stop. It was like she got addicted to the power. Every morning, clipboard in hand, she'd march around the block jotting notes, snapping photos, pretending to enforce order. And then came the day she picked the wrong battle. My buddy Mark, Deputy Mark Holloway, works for the county sheriff's department. He's been my friend since college. One day he calls me up and says, "Hey man, my parking spot downtown's being resurfaced. Mind if I leave my car at your place for a week or two?" Of course I told him. Plenty of space here. Now Mark's car isn't your average police cruiser. It's an unmarked black Dodge Charger, sleek, clean, but with that unmistakable law enforcement look, heavy tint antennas, the kind of car that makes people slow down even when they're not speeding. I parked it neatly in my driveway, threw a sunshade over the windshield, and went about my day. 24 hours later, chaos. I come home from work to see Karen standing in my driveway, phone out circling the car like she'd discovered a crime scene. She looked like a hawk that finally spotted prey. "Excuse me," she called out, voice sharp enough to cut glass. "Is this your vehicle?" "Not exactly," I said, setting down my bag. "It's my friend's. He's out of town." Her lips tightened. "This car doesn't comply with HOA guidelines. Commercial, government, and non-resident vehicles can't be stored overnight." I blinked. "Karen, it's just a car." She pointed to the antenna. "Don't play dumb. That's a law enforcement vehicle. You can't have that here." I couldn't help but laugh. "You're telling me my buddy's car, who happens to work for the sheriff, is breaking HOA rules?" She didn't flinch. "Rules are rules. You'll be receiving a notice." And boy, did she deliver. That night I got a shiny, official-looking email from the HOA. "Your vehicle violates community standards. Remove it within 24 hours or face fines and towing." I stared at it, shaking my head. She really thought she could tow a sheriff's car. Naturally, I called Mark. As soon as I told him what happened, he burst out laughing so hard he could barely breathe. Then he said, "Don't move the car. Let's see how far she's willing to go." So I waited. The next morning, around 8, I peeked out my window and nearly spit out my coffee. A tow truck was idling across the street, the driver looking uncertain. And there she was, Karen in her bathrobe, clipboard in one hand, coffee in the other, barking orders like she ran the Pentagon. The tow guy stepped out, hesitating. "Ma'am, are you sure this is okay? Looks like a government car." Karen scoffed. "It's not. It's abandoned, and I'm the HOA president. I have the authority." I remember thinking, this woman is about to commit a felony in flip-flops. My heart was pounding. As much as I wanted to see karma play out, part of me panicked. What if this went sideways? What if I actually got in trouble for this? I started doubting myself. Maybe I should have just said no to Mark. Maybe Karen was right. Maybe I should have just avoided all this drama. For a second, I even reached for my keys to move the car and end it. But then I stopped. No. I was done letting her push people around. Done letting her make everyone in this neighborhood live in fear of her clipboard. And that's when I saw it, another car turning the corner. A black and white sheriff's cruiser rolled into the street and parked right behind the tow truck. The door opened, and out stepped Mark in full uniform sunglasses on radiating calm authority. He walked straight toward them, hand resting casually on his belt. "Morning," he said, voice even but heavy with confidence. "What's going on here?" Karen's tone flipped faster than a light switch. "Oh, officer, thank goodness you're here. We're just removing this unauthorized vehicle. It's been parked here illegally for days." Mark tilted his head, pretending to think. "Illegally, huh? You sure about that?" "Absolutely," she said proudly. "I'm the HOA president. This car isn't registered to any resident." Mark nodded slowly, then smiled. "You're right. It's registered to the county sheriff's department." Silence. You could practically hear her brain short-circuit. Her face went from confident to ghost white in half a second. Mark pulled out his badge. "Ma'am, this is an active-duty law enforcement vehicle. You just authorized a private contractor to tow government property. That's a federal issue," Karen stammered. I didn't know. It just looked suspicious." Mark's smile disappeared. Suspicious. Parked in a private driveway with permission from the homeowner, the tow truck driver quietly began unhooking the chains. The guy wanted no part of this. Karen tried to recover, but it was too late. Mark wasn't raising his voice. He didn't need to. His calm was the kind that made people sweat. "Ma'am," he said, "next time you decide to play cop, make sure you actually have jurisdiction." She just stood there, mouth open, eyes darting between us, and then she bolted. Literally turned and speed-walked straight back to her house robe flapping behind her. I swear I've never laughed so hard in my life. By noon, the whole neighborhood knew. Word spread like wildfire. Karen tried to tow a sheriff's car. People were waving at me, chuckling, saying things like, "Man, you really let her step in it this time." Someone even made a meme, her face photoshopped onto a tow truck with the caption, "Authority denied." But Mark wasn't done. He filed a report, unauthorized interference with official property, and passed it along to the HOA board. A week later, an email hit everyone's inbox. Effective immediately. HOA President Karen Whitmore is stepping down due to personal stress. Yeah, stress. That's one way to say you messed with the law and lost. After that, things around Maple Grove got quiet. Peaceful again. No more random citations, no more clipboard patrols. For the first time in months, people left their trash cans out without fear of getting fined. It felt nice. Then about a week later, I was out washing my truck when I saw her. Karen walking by, sunglasses on, head down. She slowed, hesitated, then muttered, "Sorry about the incident." I couldn't help but grin. "All good, Karen. Just remember, some cars are above HOA policy." She nodded awkwardly and practically jogged away. I watched her go, the sound of the hose running beside me, and I couldn't stop thinking how absurd it all was. A woman so desperate for control that she ended up humiliating herself in front of the whole neighborhood. But I guess that's the thing about power, it's not meant for everyone. Some people wield it like a weapon until it finally backfires. So yeah, before you threaten to tow someone's car, maybe check whose name's on the registration. Because sometimes the badge wins over the clipboard.